Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Squared Circle Speak. I am Ryan. He is Nathan. And today we are going to be hitting you with the WWE Draft. We're going to be talking about the results and we might be talking about what we would do to make it a little bit better because I felt this draft kind of lackluster. And this whole concept of a WWE draft is not working, in my opinion. They need to switch
You
it up.
know, you know, usually I think the NFL draft is pretty boring, but this one was a snooze fest, Brian.
There were a couple surprises of people, getting called up, which was fine. They were,
Some of them made 0 cents.
but yeah, a lot of these
Oh,
were very just everyone staying on the same brand, most of them, and no one really changed. So we can go through. If you do, you
let's
just want to
go
go?
through. Let's not. Let's just go through who switched shows in the call club. We ain't gonna go through all the people that stayed the same.
Yeah, because a lot of them say the same. So let me just go, and we'll go who switched. So
A lot of them, hell, almost all of them.
yeah. So the first night was SmackDown. The first big surprise was Carmelo Hayes getting called up from NXT to go to SmackDown. That was predictable. Everyone kind of assumed he was going to get called up, and he'd already
been wrestling on SmackDown.
Yeah, so it was pretty predictable there. Braun Breaker went from SmackDown to Raw. I guess they didn't want Hayes and Breaker on the same show, which is understandable. You don't want two of the young brightest guys, I guess, on the same show. Nia Jax went from Raw to SmackDown. You talk about a game changer. Let me tell you what, Nathan. Nia Jax, come on. Hell of a pickup for SmackDown there. Sheamus went from SmackDown to Raw, even though he just wrestled on Raw, so I don't know how that's a change.
Yeah.
So I don't really consider that a change. And then other than that, the last Andrade went to SmackDown. So, which is okay. So, I'm going to spoil the right, but they moved Andrade to SmackDown, but then the LWO went to Raw. So, I figured he was going to do something with them, but now he's not.
I think they just wanted to separate all the luchadors, all the Mexican wrestlers.
Yeah, because half of them are on Raw, half of them are on SmackDown now. So,
yeah.
And the last pick of the draft on SmackDown, probably the biggest shocker. This was like Michael Penix going in the NFL draft as high as he did. Kiana James picked up from NXT to go to Raw.
What the fuck?
So that one was weird.
Ryan. Okay, Kiana James. Who thought Kiana James should? Why was she not one of the people that were picked like on WWE.com or some shit? Like
one of the supplemental.
When I think of women wrestlers that are going to get called up from NXT, okay, and they could be surprises. I mean, what about the people that have been there a lot long? Like, what about Gigi Dolan or JC Jane,
even fucking like Thea Hale or some shit. Like,
yeah, you could have had
or even Fallon Henley.
Fallon Henley, you could have had that whole university get called up.
Yeah, Chase U.
Kiana James.
Like, I like Kiana James, but I don't think she's ready for the main roster.
I feel like she's just going to get lost in the shuffle.
I feel like that too. We'll see what happens. But it's weird because you would think Baron Corbin would have made the main. He was supplemental. He got picked up in the supplemental.
Poor Baron Corbin.
So in the supplemental draft, on Friday, Fire and Dawn went to Raw.
Yeah.
Corbin went from NXT to SmackDown, and then every other pick stayed exactly the same.
Yeah.
No other changes.
All right, let's go to night 2 real quick, and then we'll give our thoughts on how we can change this.
So night 2, the first change was Damage Control, all 4 going to Raw. Again, the tag team champions are involved there, but since they go on both brands, they are draftable. Once they lose the titles, they'll stay on Raw. Then we went a long time with no real changes. We went into the third round before we had another change. So the whole second round, everyone stayed exactly where they were. In the third round, the Latino World Order, all of them, including Carlito, went to Raw.
All five of them, 5 people.
6. Because
6. Jesus Christ.
Carlito was involved with them. Even though I don't think he's still a part of that group, but he got drafted alongside the LWO. Shinsuke went from Raw to SmackDown. Ilya Dragunov went from NXT to Raw. That one was expected, but good for Shinsuke or Ilya. About time. I figured since when he lost the title, he was going to get called up. So he's going to be on Raw. Could he join Imperium? Never know. Chelsea Green and Piper Niven went from Raw to SmackDown. Lyra Valkyria went from NXT to Raw. Where Ray and Hartwell went to SmackDown. All 5 members of Final Testament came to Raw. DIY went to SmackDown, and Blair Davenport was the very last pick in the draft going to SmackDown. So there you go. At least that girl, like Blair Davenport and Lyra Valkyria, both obviously should be on the main roster. Davenport has the most experience than any woman in NXT. So those were good picks.
So is Raw just going to have a bunch of gang wars? Like, they got like all the factions.
Other than, Legato and Legato del Fantasma is still on SmackDown. The Bloodline's on SmackDown, and I guess Bobby Lashley's group's still on SmackDown.
Yeah. I mean, damn.
But then you got the LWO, you got the Final Testament, you got Judgment Day on Raw. I mean,
yeah, you got freaking Damage Control. Like, I'm like, holy crap, man.
The supplemental night 2 picks, Apollo, because Apollo Crews still has a job, went from Raw to SmackDown. Dijak went from NXT to Raw. Giovanni Vinci went from Raw to SmackDown. The New Catch Republic, who weren't even drafted, they were in the supplemental because great. Went from SmackDown to Raw, and Tegan Knox went from Raw to SmackDown. And that is it. Like, no one else, it's crazy. We just went through the list. Those are all the people that switched brands. That means everybody else that was drafted in the company are on the same brand they were on.
Yeah. So here's the thing. I like that they didn't move a lot of people, because then it would have just felt like you're just moving show. They would have felt like, okay, I get that. But before I get into what I would change here, Ryan, let's think about something, because there's some names that you mentioned here. Odyssey Jones, Apollo Crews, people that didn't get drafted like Dexter Loomis. All right, so think about this, Ryan. You got those 3 guys. We had Cameron Grimes get released because they said they had nothing for them.
Yep.
For him. But you got these 3 guys that clearly they have nothing for them either, and yet they didn't get. Did he have some heat? Did somebody really hate him? Like, what happened?
Yeah, that's what's so great, because Cameron Grimes got released, and even Zion Quinn, I felt like in Zion Quinn showed some personality before. They could have done something. He had a unique look. Odyssey Jones was drafted last year and hasn't made a single appearance on TV.
On any show.
He was on Main Event a couple times, I think. That is it. I think he may have been on Speed too. But that's it. He was drafted last year, and he hasn't done a damn thing all year. And the same with freaking Dexter Loomis, who's not been on the show in over a year. Why are they still in this company? But you're getting rid of someone like Cameron Grimes and even Xia Li and Zion Quinn, who had potential to be really good.
Yeah, Xia Li makes 0 sense either, because she's the only Chinese woman.
Yeah.
What the you didn't have to do the stereotypical.
No, she could have just been a wrestler.
Well, you could have made her a face and had her be a shining light for freaking the Asian community or something.
When she was first called up, what was that, 2 years ago or whatever? She had a match on SmackDown with Becky Lynch, and it was fucking phenomenal.
I know.
And then they didn't do anything with her. She got started, stopped. She turned heel, turned face, turned heel, changed her gimmick, did all this. She never got a fair shake on the main roster, and it sucks. But then you get with people like this who are getting drafted. It's like,
Yeah.
it's annoying. Yeah. So we got a couple of people who weren't drafted who were there, like Omos, uh, like Alexa Bliss, Valhalla, but they're all off for Carmelo. Like they all had kids or are currently pregnant. So they're not going to get drafted. And Omos is just, I don't even know what they're going to do with him. He's just kind of there floating
Yeah.
around. Dexter Loomis is under contract, was not drafted. And there's a couple others, but yeah. So we'll see what happens with all them. I don't really have any interest other than like the women who may come back at some point. But yeah,
Yeah.
very, very lackluster, underwhelming. Like some of the NXT picks were cool, but if history
There
says
was
anything, we don't know if anything's going to become of them because like it's different now. So I have a lot more trust and faith that Triple H is going to use them right. But I don't know.
so so of the people that we some people that we think that should have got drafted, Ryan, from NXT, who should have got called up. Who do you have? Because I got a group that definitely should have got called up, and I'm really pissed that they didn't.
You
And
talking
that's
about?
Gallus.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're talking about Gallus. Yeah.
Where the hell's Gallus?
What are they gonna do else on NXT? Any like you know what I mean? Like what else are they gonna do in NXT? Like I don't know what
Yeah,
else they can
I don't understand.
accomplish.
I don't understand why they didn't get drafted. But and then like I said, I feel like JT Jane could have got called up. I
Yeah.
feel like Chase U should have got called up because Chase U got left to do down there. You know?
Yeah, Chase U, I could see. I honestly could have seen D'Angelo and getting called up too, just because I don't know
Nah.
what else he's gonna do down there either.
Well, yeah, but he's got his new people that are in his faction. Both of
True.
them are really green.
Yeah, it's true.
So I don't think they're getting called up. Like they'd get called up with him, and you want to break them up. So I
Yep.
get why they stayed down there, but but yeah, Chase U, I feel like they could have got called up,
Yeah.
and and then you could play Thea Hale up as the youngest person on the main roster ever, and
Yeah.
but
Other
all
than
right.
that,
So how would you make this better, Ryan?
see that's the thing. Like, I don't know how you make the drafts
I do.
better.
You want to know how you make it better?
Okay, yeah, hit me with it, because
All right. So here's how you make it better. So that's one thing that they got right back in the day is they didn't do like I get it's called a draft, but you don't need to draft every fucking person.
no.
You just do a draft where you're picking people from the shows like they used to.
Like
You
the
only do
random
and that way every single time somebody gets drafted, it's either a call up or a switch from shows. That way it is a surprise every time instead of
Yeah.
having all this. Oh, you stayed on the same show, and then I think what else you need to do is kind of what they kind of did, where they had the NXT people down there and they had people interviewing them when they got called up and stuff. I think you lean into that more, and I
Well,
think
they
you
did.
have draft analysis. I think you have more draft analysis on the shows. Make it feel more like
Actual
the
draft.
NFL draft. Yeah, like a sports draft,
Well, here's
and I think it would be better.
when they did the brand split again for the first time in 20, what was it, 16?
Yeah.
Whenever they did it again for the second time, they had that special draft show, and they did all that what you're saying. Like they had both along. They had everybody at one area. They get drafted. They go. They interview them. Unscripted interviews. They'd have people talking about it. Here's what I think you do to make this a little bit more exciting. Maybe you say, okay, everyone that's currently on a roster, they have every year their contract is done with their brand they're on. You have you can do it on a special show. Don't call it a draft. Just call it free agency. That way, you're signing a 1-year deal with the brand you're on. Once you sign that deal, you cannot switch brands. You are locked into the brand you're on for a year. But then as soon as that year's up, you have a free agency special. And you could just have people saying, I'm signing with Raw, I'm signing with Smack. That way, at least it makes it feel more real instead of we're just drafting the same people on a show. Because if they like the show, yeah, they can stick around and stay on Raw if they like Raw. Maybe they want to go to NXT. Maybe they want to go to SmackDown. At least it makes it feel like the wrestlers have a say in what they're doing, and they could give storyline reasons for wanting to go to a different show. I don't they call because calling it a draft, you're just drafting.
I do that a little bit.
It's not a draft if you're just drafting the same people. So either do what you said,
Yeah,
either do it the way you said, where they're just drafting people from the other show every draft, every pick, like they used to do, where they had the randomizer and it's like, and it showed the pictures. That was cool. I actually liked that because you knew you were getting something from a different brand, or just do it, like call it the shakeup again for crying out loud. Like I don't know, like I just don't. And I know they kept trying on these shows to talk about why they drafted. Oh, a strategy. You want to keep your own people, but it's so stupid because Stephanie McMahon, they come out there, right? And they have they have cards for each pick, right? How the fuck in kayfabe do they know what the other brand is fucking drafting? Did they align with each other before they sent the cards out?
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Because like they come out there and it's like Raw picked Judgment Day, SmackDown picked. How did SmackDown know they were picking Judgment? And what did they had? You know, it's so did they have a meeting before they went out there and said who they're picking or what? Because it's so weird to have all the cards out there without knowing what the other brand's picking. What if the person you were going to pick was the next person they picked and it's already on the card? So
yeah, it was pretty weird.
I hated it, man. It took me out completely. And I'm just like, they need to try to make it more, if they're going to do it, either do it randomly like they did before or something. Do it as a, and I don't like this 2-night shit. They could have made it a Peacock special or something and had it a 1-night thing on like Wednesday night, you know, because fuck AEW. And you can done it on Wednesday night or something, or on a Saturday or something.
I think one night is enough too, especially if you do it the way they used to do it, where they're only picking like, you know, each show's picking 10 people or something, where it's not a lot, you know. So, because like, yeah, doing it this way was it was boring as fuck, Ryan. Like, it was like letdown after letdown because you're thinking, oh,
it's like, oh, Raw just picked the same person they've had on the roster all year. Cool. Like, how are we supposed to react to Jey Uso staying on Raw? Like,
I know.
Yeah, and there was the little movement there was when they picked it was just like, eh. Other than the NXT people were the only time they like any reaction out of me. And it was just like, even when someone moved brands, I was just like, just fell off. I don't know. This whole thing sucked. I like the draft because I like them moving brands because I don't like people being stuck in the same brand all the time. So I like new feuds and new people, but at the same time, this was too boring for me. I can't handle it. Like, it sucked. So yeah, either do the way you did it or do it as like just a free agency thing or something to where they can, you know, make it.
Maybe just call it you do like, you know, free agency and trades throughout the year.
Yeah, maybe put like you can do like trades, have like a trade deadline or something.
Yeah, but I think you should have like one time a year you have a draft, but it's an NXT draft where each show picks like three or four people, 3 or 4 people from NXT, and then, you know, that's a draft.
Yeah, that's a draft. This was not a draft. This was just picking your own people. 8 picks out of 10. Yeah, I don't know. This was boring. It made the shows suck too. It just brought the whole shows down because they had to stop and do draft picks. And so like it just made both shows, Raw and SmackDown, really sucky. Like I didn't really care about either of these shows, man.
Yeah, this was a week where AEW definitely had better shows than WWE.
And this is the go home Raw to Backlash. Like,
yeah, they gotta quit doing that too. They gotta quit. They quit having a draft right before pay per view, and then they always say, "Oh, it takes place after this. It takes effect after this pay per view." Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, so that's the thing. So like, you have this draft, and you had these title matches on SmackDown and Raw, and it's like, what the fuck? What? How does this affect the draft? What if someone who's already been drafted to a different show wins the title? That like.
That's pretty dumb.
They need to like do it. That's what I'm saying. They need to do it on a different night. Now I know why they do it on Raw and SmackDown. They try to pop a rating, but they need to do it as a network special and do it like in an hour and just do it. and not have it on Raw or SmackDown because the crowds at one point were they just didn't care either. Like, "Eh." Once they started realizing the trend that it was all the same people every fucking time going on the same show, they were like, "Oh yeah, we're done." The crowd was like, "Yeah, we don't care about this
Yeah.
anymore."
Yeah. All right. I think that's gonna do it for this episode of Squared Circle Speak, Ryan.
Yeah. Hopefully maybe they can figure out this draft because this was lackluster and I'm hoping I'm looking forward to some of the people being on new shows and it'll be interesting. And I'm looking forward to the NXT call-ups. But other than that, yeah, it's very lackluster. So thank you for watching as always, and we will see you tomorrow with our Backlash preview. See ya.